I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried saying that I was.
If you're looking to buy all of your awesome Godzilla figures, Cokekiss has you covered with all of that. This includes Hiya Toys and now Monster Arts and other Godzilla lines. Another great thing, Cokekiss has free shipping to selected countries with great fast shipping. I've pre-ordered all of my figures from Cokekiss without any issue. It's a trustworthy website amongst the collectors. Who also recommend this great website. You can also get all your figures cheaper by using my discount code. Use code RubiCokekiss to get 6% off on the entire website. This includes small, medium, big figures, literally anything. It doesn't have to be Godzilla related. Every single figure by using my discount code, you obtain 6% off. So what are you waiting for? Help yourself out and help me in return by using my discount code on the entire website to get your fast shipping and great figures. It's highly recommended, and if your package gets lost for whatever reason, simply contact customer support and they should be able to help you right away without any issue. Very great website, trustworthy. This thing is huge. something that I've noticed immediately. When you look at this figure and the figure that's in the cover, I just cannot help to think that those are completely two different figures for two main reasons. The dorsal plates on this one are completely a different color from this version of Shimo. This is the one I think that we saw at the San Diego Comic-Con, or maybe at Wonder Festival. This is the one that everybody fell in love with because of the color on the crystals. Now the second reason is, look at right here. Shimo has color throughout this little line or row that we get to see. Now look at this version. On this version, this line of Shimo is completely clear. It's like the same color as Shimo, and both of them look fantastic. This one, the final version, is not a bad figure by any means. I love both of them, but if I was to choose one, I think this one was the definitive version everybody wanted. Everybody making a big deal out of the size, I honestly cannot tell in person because both fit perfectly. I mean, there you go. In a movie, Shimo was this size, and you can even adjust the legs and you can make this version of Shimo just look a little bit tiny. It's all about the pose. It's all about how you pose both figures together, if you want them to match or not. Now let's take a look at the articulation. We're going to start from the top all the way to the bottom. It has good articulation, or enough motion to look left and right, but not too extreme like the monster art or other figures, but it does the job. It can't really look up, it can look down this much. The mouth opens. The tongue obviously moves up and down. Has good motion there too. I believe they do a 360 degree. Yup, they do. They don't really go in and out that much, but just enough. It's not the best, and they curve this much in, out, this much. Let me position the camera better, but in spin, they can go in and out. It does have good motion. Now, the interesting part about this figure, comparing it to Monster Arts and other Hiya figures, it is probably the first one to ever have finger articulation. If you look here, each individual finger can move just enough. And they do pop. I don't think you can break them, but still be careful. Mine, which was this one popped on me. And I dropped the figure already, so my bad, but it did survive. But yeah, I mean, you can really see how much articulation there is, and I think this is fantastic because it allows you to pose this Shimo in other ways you just couldn't. The angle's a lot better. On the other one, it was very hard to tell, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people were initially scared that the upgraded version of Shimo took forever and that there wasn't 3 segments, which there is. There's 1, 2, and then 3. 3 technically. Anyways, it bends a lot. I have to say that I'm quite surprised how much it bends, and it actually does move a lot side to side. So it does have good articulation in the mid section, middle section, and back section. And now let's take a look at the knees, legs. This is how much articulation you get. Quite surprisingly. At the bottom section, the fact that they were able to do this, you guys can see that it bends quite a lot. It goes in this much, back this much. Now unfortunately, they don't really extend too much, so it's sort of limited here in this section, but you do get enough articulation to pose Shimo in certain ways that you want to. Now unfortunately, there's no finger articulation like there is here. It is completely different, but still I think they're very smart, because if they did, the figure would fall, and I'll get to the negatives why. And back to the tail section, I believe there's 8 or 9 points of articulation, and it may not seem enough, but I think it gets the job done. I mean, you know, it bends enough where you can get good motion,
But at the same time, I understand some people may not like this because they prefer a longer tail and a tail that can be just a little bit more flexible. But still, I mean, if you get the body to bend, you can really get Shimo to do incredible poses. It's just a matter of just messing around with the tail. But yes, the crystals on the tail are just a little bit better compared to Monster Arts, but they don't have any articulation like that specific version, which I don't think it's really that needed. They're very soft, but just be careful with that. You don't want to break those crystals eventually. Now let's talk about the crystals right here. The material is soft. It's not translucent, unfortunately, like Monster Arts. But even though they're not transparent, I gotta say that they did a fantastic job. The way this paint job reflects the color from a darker purple, you guys can see the purple, and then it goes to a lighter blue and a darker blue, and that is just fantastic. Some of them are very squishy and soft, as you see here, which is fantastic. Obviously you don't want to poke yourself, and that goes for most of them. Obviously this portion of the crystals are just a little bit more tough, but you know, same thing applies for the head. They're more flexible. But overall, I think the articulation on this figure is very solid. Could it have been done a little bit better? Absolutely. I think there's definitely room to improve, and I'll talk about that in the negative section. Right now I'm just showcasing the articulation, but there is a few things that I have to talk about with this figure for my final thoughts and the negative portion of it. But overall, just a fantastic figure with great articulation so far. Here are my final thoughts with Shimo. Fantastic figure, very impressive. Right off the bat, when I got this figure out of the box, it is a huge figure. I was very surprised by how huge this figure is. It looks impressive in person. The most impressive thing about this is the beauty within the colors. Every part of this figure has a different type of shine to it, and what I mean by this, it's very reflective, especially around the sun. The pearl-like color throughout his body was perfectly captured, just like it was in the movie. You might not be able to tell, but in person you can really see the pearl-like color go throughout his body, and especially around the chest you see that pink-like color that we got to see in the movie. Unlike the Monster Arts, which is just a single pearl-like color, very white, this one, when I say this reflects all those colors, it is true to the movie. The fact that you can see a pearl white, a pearl blue, a pearl pink, it's such a beautiful figure. It's probably the most beautiful figure Hiya Toys will ever produce. Of course, if they ever released an improved figure. But so far in person, especially when you shine a light or just the natural conditions outside, it is beautiful. Although a lot of people may be disappointed because it doesn't have translucent crystals, the paint job just makes up for it. It may look like it's a dark blue fading to a lighter blue, but in person you can really get to see from certain angles how it's just not two colors. It actually has multiple colors. You can see a purple, a light blue, a lighter tone on top of the crystals. So whenever you move, it's like a holographic car. Whenever you move Shimo side to side, you really get to see the shine and beauty of this figure. I just cannot say this enough, but they did a fantastic job with the paint job, capturing every single thing and every single color scheme of this figure, just like the movie. And a lot of people kind of scared that they wouldn't do it, just like Monster Arts, but I gotta say, in video, if it looks this fantastic in person, trust me, it's such a beautiful figure. For the size, again, most of you saw some comparisons already with the most requested figures, especially with Ghidorah and Godzilla Evolve. Either Monster Arts is absolutely massive. Shimo will probably be one of the tallest figures in your collection, and yes, it is heavy, it is massive, so be careful with it. The size perfectly captures how both Godzilla and Shimo were to interact with each other. They did a fantastic job capturing the size between both figures and even with other figures, to the point where it's not a big deal if it is a little bit smaller comparing it to Monster Arts, because it is already a gigantic figure, and the fact that it can stand and do multiple things, it is beautiful, very beautiful. So if you're worried and think, oh, Hiya Toys Shimo, it's on the smaller end of the figures, no, absolutely not. You would be wrong. It's perfect. It's all about the posing, as I mentioned. This is a damn tall figure for sure. This figure may have the most beautiful design, very accurate, a beautiful paint job, great articulation. It is unfortunately being haunted by that of what makes the figure a very massive figure and how heavy it is. Because of that, it is very difficult to get this figure to stand sometimes, because this ends up happening. It is way too heavy, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if this is only for me, for my specific figure, but my figure is extremely loose. I mean, look at this. It can't even hold a pose. Just saying, she cannot really hold a pose without her, just falling apart. And now it may look like it's a solid figure. She stands up, but trust me, when you're trying to get her in certain angles, the pose is very difficult, and it's due to the weight and how loose the ball joints in certain segments of this figure are, and it just makes it very difficult, especially as I mentioned, when you're trying to stand her up. Look at that, the weight just pulls her down. So what you gotta do is know how to pose this figure. You have to stand her fully straight like this and get the arms and hands in a certain position. Otherwise, she's gonna be falling all over the place. And right now it's currently holding, but again, that's just a little negative part about this. Me, that would be the negative part about this. Again, this just might be my specific figure, but it is on the looser end, where it is very difficult for her to hold a standing pose, and even just on all fours. Play around with Shimo and try to get in those specific poses. She keeps falling over and over, and that is for some reasons. Number one, she's a massive figure. Number two, the weight of each individual part is too much for the figure to hold its pose. So what ends up happening is, when you try to set this figure in a certain position, look what happens. Because of how much weight there is throughout the body, that it's not evenly distributed on certain angles. So probably for a future figure, what I suggest for Hiya Toys is to probably hollow out some areas. You could probably hollow half of the body and make the other body solid, or just depends. It's all about the engineering. Sorry about that in the background, guys. You guys know that I live in a busy street, but anyways, I'm sure that this can definitely get solved in the near future. Another issue that I have with this figure, when I got this figure out of the box, I noticed it has a texture to the whole body, and I thought to myself, it might be because of the paint job, and it is. Unfortunately, it might be because it's very fresh, and of course, when the figure gets shipped out, temperature within the box is extremely hot. Right now it's very hot in some countries, some places around the world, so that just activates the paint job again, and it makes it like if it was very fresh. So what I noticed, it's not shipping like Monster Arts, none of that, but it does have this oily texture to it. And when I noticed, I recorded a video. You guys can see that on my fingers there's like glitter from this figure, and in specific areas the figure, like on this section right here on the armor plates, it feels very greasy. And when I looked at my hands, indeed my hands felt greasy. And on top of that, I do have some glitter on my hands. It might be hard to tell on my fingers. Not sure how this is gonna hold in the long run. I have to do an update and see if in the near future we start to see the paint chipping, if we start to see some areas just without the color on it, because that is something that I do want to consider and, you know, update everybody, because I do know that the Monster Arts, especially on the head, there was some chipping going on, and around the body, that figure is around like $300 and high-end, pricey. It shouldn't be doing that, especially if they are applying high-end paint jobs or, you know, paint on it. I'm sure this is also eventually going to get fixed by a different version, but I would highly recommend Hiya Toys to release a figure that has translucent crystals and accessories like her effect and other things that she could eventually come with. Now, would I recommend this figure over Monster Arts or just in general? I highly recommend this figure. I think it's a beautiful figure for its accuracy, and the paint job is one of the most beautiful things you'll see on this figure. And the price point, it is much cheaper. You can probably get this figure for around $100. If you got it for pre-order, it was around 60 or 50 something, so very, very cheap. So while you can, get this figure before it goes up in price, because it is a fantastic figure. It's very accurate. It has a decent articulation throughout the body. The paint job is beautiful. And what else can you ask for? The size is fantastic. Now, the only negative thing I would have to say about this figure is if you are somebody who's looking for crazy articulation, then Monster Arts might be just a little bit better, because it does have more motion or segments on the neck, on the tail, and just in between the body. But at the same time, this figure does have more articulation in parts that Monster Arts simply does not offer. So it just depends. If you're looking for something with crazy articulation, you don't care about accuracy, Monster Arts. Monster Arts is also based on an early concept art with inspiration with other things. This is a fully accurate design, very beautiful.